Hey guys, Merry Christmas. I'm Coach Jay, and today we're going to talk about athlete in crisis. And this is something that I get it's probably about 10% of my calls where parent calls me up and says my athlete's in crisis. And so I try to get a feel for what's going on and really why they're in crisis, what the situation is. Are we really in crisis, or are we just not getting playing time? So anyway, let's dive into that a little bit today. I'm Coach Jay. I'm a mental performance coach. I live down in Ponte Vedra, Florida. I work with athletes all over the country, high school athletes that are going off to play sports in college, as well as college athletes. And so, we work through a lot of these kind of issues, talking about things like this. And so, the truth is, when an athlete is in crisis, the whole family's in crisis. It's just the way it is. Like, when your child is struggling at their sport, the entire family has to suffer. And especially if they've been good and they were a top player and their trajectory was pretty high, and all of a sudden they start struggling, it can be very detrimental on the family and very difficult for them to kind of recover from. So, I think as a parent, as a coach, I know both sides of this. And as a parent, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. What are the main things that are going on? And, even for me, because I work with kids every day, I still have had to get outside help to help kind of connect the dots to make some sense out of what's going on. And I think for a lot of parents, you're gonna have to do the same thing. Even if you understand what's going on, the things that you value or your knowledge base about how the system works is probably not as good as it needs to be. And I've found that out with a lot of parents, is that they will start out by telling me something like, well, their coach doesn't like them. And they'll start out with saying some pretty strong things. And then, as I delve deeper into the situation, it's not that the coach doesn't like them. The coach just wants them to work harder. The coach wants them to play harder. The coach wants them to quit being spoiled brat, quit being, thinking that you're a starter, and just show up and go to work. And so I have seen that a lot. We don't know why our kid's not starting. He started out the season, he was a starter, and now he's not getting playing time at all. Well, if I know how your son has spent the last 24 hours, what they do in the course of a day, and I know what practice looks like for them and the mentality they bring, I can pretty much tell you exactly why they're not starting. And so, a lot of this stuff, once we kind of separate it out and once we kind of figure out what's going on, it's real easy to go, okay, this is why this is not working. But while you're going through it, it's hard. And while you're going through it, it's hard to understand what are the main pieces on the puzzle, and kind of how to connect the dots. And honestly, that's my biggest skill, is just being able to, I know what order is, I know what things the way they should be, I know what college coaches expect things to be, and I know that level. And when you see anything that's much below that, when you see low work ethic, when you see entitled attitude, that's not going to work. And so, that's the beauty about sports, is sports doesn't care how much money you have. Sports just cares about how hard you work and can you get focused to execute. And so, it doesn't really care about all these other things that a lot of parents get caught up in. And so, sports is a great equalizer. You can take a poor kid and he can go out there and beat a wealthy kid all day long, and the kids are of the same size and weight. And so, at the end of the day, I'm really just here to help kind of separate the noise, clear out the distractions, and help an athlete to piece it together so they can just get back on track doing the right things, so that they can get back out playing their sport and having fun again. So anyway, this is something that I do every day, and I don't want your athlete to be in crisis. And if you find that that's the case, there is good help out there. I'm one person that works with nothing but athletes, and but there are psychologists out there that are good resources. You know, um, so anyway, I guess what I'm telling you is time is short. Don't let too much time go before you reach out. Don't let too much time go before you clean it up and get the problem solved and move forward. And many times you're going to have to go outside of your circle, your immediate circle, and go to a person who's more of an expert, somebody who knows really kind of how all this whole system works. So all that being said, I'm Coach Jay. You can find me on X at College Scout FB. I'm listed on Psychology Today as Coach Jay in Ponte Vedra. And also, I can be found on YouTube at Coach J Sports. So, all that being said, have a great day. God bless.